Hi, thank you for joining me on this beautiful Labor Day weekend. I want to chat about some of the important things that I've noticed my team has been asking in their reviews. What I'm loving is that in our annual reviews with our instructors, we ask them if they'd like us to film their class this year. And what I love is when people are eager to have us film their class and actually not only welcoming to it, but asking when we're going to show up with a camera to film them because they know how important it is and how useful it is as a tool to learn how we're cueing our participants, and it's such a learning tool. I can tell my instructors all day what I would recommend that they do while they're teaching their classes, but the filming of their classes is learning from yourself is the best experience. So before I film our instructors, what I'm going to work on creating for our team is the 6 things that I want them to look at as far as their cueing when they are filming their class and when they're basically reviewing the film after they film themselves. And they don't have to watch it the entire class, I don't think. I think it just takes a few minutes and a few exercises to identify what they really need to work on in their cueing especially. And sometimes just recording your voice while you teach can be so amazing as far as a learning tool. So the 6 things I've identified for instructors to notice and to identify while they're watching the video of themselves teaching is first the speed and of course the pace of how they are speaking. If you're reading a book and you notice a run-on sentence or you having trouble focusing on what the writer is trying to portray because everything is just running into itself, that is what can happen to an instructor who's nervous or maybe experiencing they've gotten so good at saying what they need to say and they've said it so many times that it turns into a run-on sentence. There's no breathing, there's no pausing, it's just very fast and very quick. And so there's barely enough time for the participant to even hear what they're saying, and there's not a lot of weight on what they're saying. It starts to become something that the participants actually tune out when someone's talking way too fast and running their sentences together. So identifying the speed and the pace of how someone is speaking while they're watching their video is going to be very helpful. What are some things that they can work on to slow down the pace, to take a moment to breathe? Can they force themselves? Can they put it in their actual plan for the class? Where do they notice they speed up or they lose their audience? And where do they notice that they have really good pace and when they speak? Noticing the speed. Second is, what are the filler and transition phrases that they're repeating over and over again? Almost every instructor has this in their teaching. So a good example of my own is, now we are going to, okay, are you ready? And then I hear this in yoga a lot is, take it to pigeon, take it to downward facing dog, take it to this, take it to that. Take what to where to what? So just being really specific and identifying what are your tics or the as a tick I believe, or a filler or transition between exercises. Also, how precise are your cueing them into an exercise? So I actually love creating a formula of what I want to say when I'm giving someone a cue. The formula I like to create is the pose or the exercise, so naming the exercise first, because if you just start to talk someone through the movements you want them to make, it just starts to feel like they're making shapes and there's no real point to what they're doing. So name the exercise. In a strength training class, that might be reverse lunge with a twist. Then you take that cue, just stating the exercise, taking that cue and maybe talking about the breath or talking about the placement of the ribs or the placement of the knee. So reverse lunge with a twist. Inhale, step your right leg back. So now I've taken reverse lunge with a twist, the exercise, talked about the breath as part of the movement, and then the action was to take the right foot back, and then what am I taking back as well is something I've noticed instructors forget to say. Right leg, left leg, be very specific, be very precise. And then where is it going? Is it going backwards? Is it going forward? Is it going sideways? This is all just language. Also, what are you demonstrating when you teach your class? So videos are great because you can actually see what you look like when you're teaching the class. How good does your exercise look? From that precise cueing formula that I like to use, basically, again, one more time, the pose or the exercise, the breath, the action, what is going to move, and where is it going to move? For the fourth thing I'd like people to identify are some of the words that they say that may not be asking the participants to do what they really want them to do. Something I've heard in yoga are to let part of their body fall to the floor, or let your knee fall to the ground. Do you really want the knee to fall to the ground, or do you want to release the knee to the ground slowly? Or what is the pace you want them to go? Because if we're falling, we can start to sink into things, and all of us know our participants, as the class goes on, can get tired and actually get lazy while they're moving. Beyond, that's our fourth thing. So choose the words wisely. Identify what are the words that you're saying that you actually don't really want to say, or that people can interpret differently. The fifth thing is maintaining maintenance cues. So when there are breaks, or if your participants are repeating an exercise for a second round, you may not need to cue them through the actual movement again, but what are the things you want them to focus on while they're doing the movement? Do we want them to breathe? How do you want them to breathe? And do you want them to have an open chest? Do you want them to have a long spine? What are the most important things to you while they're going through the movement? So some maintenance cues. Are you saying things that are important during that time, or are you talking about your ski trip to wherever? That's kind of word vomit. It's not valuable to them in that moment. The sixth thing that I want instructors to listen to and pay attention to when they watch themselves teaching is, are their cues positive and inclusive? Are they teaching to the group, or are they teaching to themselves? So what I tend to hear people say when they're teaching their class is, I am lifting my hips up. I am turning to look to my right. I am inhaling here. When really, you're not the one who's in the class. You're not the only one, and you're not the important one in the class anyways. It needs to be more inclusive. It needs to be, we are going to do this. We are going to do lunges. We are going to do this. There's no I in team, right? We've heard that a million times in our life. And then what are your cues positive? Are you saying, don't put your knee here, don't reach your arm there, don't slink round your back? Instead, just change everything to the positive. Inhale, lengthen the spine, open the chest, reach the shoulders wide. And even if your class is not doing exactly what you want them to do, or if you notice them doing something that you really want them to do, congratulate them for doing that. And if you don't notice it happening, then encourage them to or remind them what to do in a positive way. So those are the 6 things I recommend you watch when you watch your video of yourself, which I highly recommend. No matter how old you are or how many years you've been teaching, you will learn more from watching yourself than experience ever will teach you. So watch yourself. When you are watching yourself and listening to yourself, how fast are you cueing? Is it way too hard to follow? Or are you just becoming a tuned out radio station that no one's listening to because you're talking too much? 2, what are your filler and transition phases that you tend to cling on to that aren't very useful throughout the class? 3, are you following some sort of a formula throughout what you're saying? Is it clear and concise, what you're trying to explain to your class? 4, what kind of words are you using that you may not want to be using, and what would you like to change them to? How can you make your cues better? 5, what are the maintenance cues that you're asking your class to maintain in order to have a safe alignment throughout class and get the most out of class? And then 6, are your instructions and are your cues positive and inclusive? So following those 6 things will help you improve your cueing to be clear and direct. Sometimes I think as instructors, we think we sound bossy, especially if we're yoga instructors. We want to sound nice and flowy, but direct and concise is going to help people get results faster and to achieve what they want to do in class and to really feel what you want them to feel. So next time you film yourself, if you haven't done it already, do it as soon as possible. You'll learn so much. I know I've learned a lot from these videos, and I hope you take this advice.